Well, welcome everybody. Here we are at our very first YouTube Q&A video. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you.
It is exciting to have Kim. Whenever Kim shows up in a video, I get a lot of comments. We get a lot of comments. I'd like to see more of Kim. And I always think to myself, I'd like to see more of Kim too. But,
Yeah.
Okay. We have a number of questions here from YouTube comments, Twitter, Facebook, just a lot of different questions. And so we'll try to get through as many as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to see these beforehand or just want to go live?
Let's do it.
All right. Question number one, how amazing is it to get to live with Joshua?
It's not a question.
Okay. Real question number one, here we go. Have either of you ever decluttered one of the other's things on accident or purpose to the other's dismay, surprise, or relief? And the answer is yes. Very early on, we started minimizing in May, and I took it upon myself to go through a lot of the kitchen, and it would have been August 22nd, my son's birthday, when you screamed in despair from the kitchen that I had thrown away the football-shaped Jell-O molds for his sports-themed party.
Yes.
So I learned that I should not be throwing away things that belong to her. I learned that lesson that day. I also learned that football field-shaped Jell-O worked just as fine for the party.
Right. So the other time is also involving him. When I found him throwing away the pictures to our honeymoon. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, they're just going into the trash can, which he thought was pretty funny because he had already scanned them into the computer. But all I saw was him throwing away the photographs. So he said, we never look at these anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no, that's true.
That was quite an anniversary.
Yeah, it was not on our
Oh,
anniversary.
I thought it was.
No.
Shows how well.
But it was rough, so maybe do those things together.
All right. Number two, more info on how you transitioned to minimalism with your kids. Our kids were 5 and 2 when we started the process. Take it away.
Yeah, so like he always says, we definitely started with our stuff first. And when we were figuring it out, we went room by room, starting kind of with our living room, and we did our own clothing, and we did the kitchen, and we did all these common areas of the home before we even addressed our kids' rooms or their stuff. So they kind of saw it coming. And once we decided to go in and start doing their stuff, we explained it to them, and they understood what we had been doing, and we gave them boundaries. And that was a huge thing for them, because if we said you have this much space for your toys, then they were able to join us in the conversation and figure out which toys they wanted to keep. And we didn't do it behind their backs. We let them make the decisions, and the boundaries helped them know how much they could keep and get rid of.
Yeah, by boundaries, telling them you can keep whatever toys you want in this closet.
Yes, you have this amount of space, so.
And it worked for everything. Shoes, clothes, arts and crafts, sports stuff, toys. Like, you have this much space for your stuff and you get to decide. Yeah.
And they were a part of the process. We didn't do it behind their backs.
Yeah, good point.
So.
That's a big one. I think that's when the security issues run in, is when kids' favorite toys magically disappear because a parent did it overnight or something.
Yeah.
That's when I think you run into problems. Plus, they should learn how to do it anyway. Number three, I've been minimizing for 4 years. I feel like I have more to go through. My question is how to know when enough is enough and you're just able to maintain, which is a great question and a common question, one that I feel like I wrestled with quite some time as well, where you look around and you feel like there's always more stuff to be getting rid of. I would think after 4 years, you are probably at a pretty good point, unless you've been going real slow. But I can't imagine after 4 years that there's still a lot of stuff to get rid of. Life changes, things come and go. To live is still to consume, so you're going to have some things around you. I think the way to gauge whether you're done or not is you just start asking the question, am I able to direct my resources towards the thing that matters most. Like, what do I want to be doing with my life? And am I able to be doing that? And if you are, then I think you're at a pretty good point. And then, of course, there's maintenance always going forward. Number 4, does Kim ever get tired of always seeing Joshua in a black shirt?
Yes, I do. However, he also wears white and sometimes gray. But no, I don't often get tired of it, but sometimes I do. And I will buy this fashionable V-neck in a different color, like blue. Or I even bought a red one, and that was really pushing the envelope, but he looks good in bold colors. So he has worn it occasionally.
She's tried to buy me different colors, but they
don't get used.
Usually get moved on pretty quickly.
Yeah, we mix it up a little bit, but this is what he likes and what he looks good in, so that's what he wears.
Number 5, does your family hang onto any heirloom items for your kids? Why not, and what?
So, not really. However, I have baby books for both of my kids, and we have pictures throughout the first year pretty extensively. And in the baby book, I have put down all the major milestones in it, and there's pictures of all these different things. So I feel like I have a visual representation through that of those heirloom items that I would have kept for them. I know sometimes people keep baby shoes or clothes, certain outfits, or a tooth or something, or a lock of hair, but I have found that doesn't really last very well unless maybe you're using the clothing for their dolls or something. Then it can kind of be fun to use, but we probably did that at the beginning before we became minimalist, and then I realized it wasn't even sitting out anymore, because as your kids grow and their rooms change and their tastes change, you're really not going to be having those things displayed. So at some point you probably just want to catalog it with photos or whatever. And there are some trophies and things like that we've taken pictures of, and awards. Those are all things that you really can kind of do with photography, and then make your own simpler memory book out of those things. So that's kind of the way we handle it.
Number 6, how as a couple do you agree on your different views on minimalism? So I think it's always helpful to remember that in a marriage relationship, that like rarely do we agree 100% on anything. Like I think we're generally moving in the same direction, but I don't know if we agree 100% on everything. Like, we agree on how to discipline our kids, but we still have some disagreements about when it warrants discipline and when it doesn't. We're both very active, like we have the same faith and very active in church, but still even disagreements on, well, how active are we supposed to be and what are we supposed to be at and aren't. And so even in minimalism, like, we're on the same page in terms of wanting to own fewer things, but how it practically plays itself out in the details looks different from one person to another. And yeah, I think the way you do it is you focus on your own stuff, and then you trust your partner, you trust your spouse, if you're in agreement on those things. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have as many clothes on my side of the closet as she has on hers, but hey, that's her decision, and I trust her that she's making wise decisions about it, and she buys things for the kids clothing, and that's what she's in charge of and does, and so I trust her to handle that. So I think it's just like anything else. You love each other, and you have patience, and you trust each other. Anything else?
I don't think so.
I nailed it. Number 7, what category of thing is still the hardest for your family not to over purchase or accumulate?
Yeah, I would probably say clothing. And that's just obviously because our kids are still growing and changing, and it's something that you need. So we are still purchasing and filtering through and getting rid of things, and I think that's always going to be something that's probably the most difficult, because we just don't tend to buy extra decorations or other stuff like that. So I think clothing is probably the most difficult, because you'll bring stuff in, but you won't always be getting rid of things. So you have to make it a habit to keep an eye on that.
Number 8, tips and advice for couples where one person is looking to be minimalist and the other not. Want to go first?
Sure. So that's a tricky situation, and in a couple situation, that means one thing when you're just dating and a different thing when you're married. So again, like with the children, we want to start with ourselves first and our own stuff. So you can go through your own clothing and your own items, and then you can move to maybe shared things like the kitchen. If you're more of the cook in the family, then you could probably go through most of those things yourselves and minimize them. But you want to do those things before you even address your partner's stuff, because you want them to see what's happening in your life and the difference that it's making, and then you can have the conversation.
And when you do have the conversation with your spouse, not in a frustrated mode where you're really upset, like I'm so sick of all this clutter around, but hey, go out for dinner, have a sit down conversation about it, and think of what would resonate with them, why they would want to pursue minimalism, because what drew you to it might be different than what would draw them to it. So, hey, if we owned less stuff, if we spent less money and time on things, we could do more of, like, insert something in that blank that's going to resonate with them. And then, it's just the theme of the Q&A, love and patience and grace and humility, and that's going to be required in your relationship and even in these conversations as well. Number 9, how to let go of items that cost a fortune in the past but are of no value to you now. I actually just recorded a video on that. We'll put a link in the description below, but the main point is this. Just because you wasted a lot of money on a mistake in the past doesn't mean you need to carry it into the future. The decision is made, the money was spent, the thing was purchased. Unless it has the tags on it, there's not much you can do to change that. But you don't have to carry that burden forward every single day just because you spent a lot of money on it in the past. Free yourself up now to pursue those things that matter most. And last question, number 10, how do we encourage our elderly parents to declutter? You don't need me to tell you this, but I think it's helpful to remember always that elderly people, it's a great season of loss. Typically, they're losing physical abilities that they used to have, they're losing loved ones, losing the ability to drive. And usually they don't see that themselves. Someone needs to tell them that that's the case, and that's the role that you need to play. Of course, we do that as loving as we possibly can, but if taking care of the home and taking care of the stuff has become too much for them, then help them see that. And again, like we said before, like help them see what they'd be able to do more of if they didn't have so much stuff and so much home to be taken care of. But you helped your mom. She's not really elderly, but you helped her downsize. What would you add to this?
Yeah, so I did help my mom downsize out of a house that we had been in for at least 35 years. And so there was a lot of stuff to go through. And so the first thing I would say is that they need help. And so if you can offer them the help, that is super important, to come alongside them, because it is going to be difficult and it's also going to be emotional to go through all of those memories. And so I think that you coming alongside them also honors those memories one more time. And that way they can share them with you and then move along from them and hopefully part with more stuff that way. The other thing I would say is that you might need to remind them that once they pass on, it will be hard for you to know what was most important to them if it's in the midst of tons of stuff. But if you guys can go through those things together and figure out what is most important to them to pass along to family members, then that will be a wonderful step in the right direction.
Good job. You do
Thanks.
good work. I remember what I always request you.
Right.
Hey, this was a new format for us. I think we'll probably do it again, but we'll leave that up to you a little bit. You can hit the thumbs up down below this video to let us know you like this format and you want us to do it again. Also, we'll come to this video to find questions for the next time we do this. So if there are any questions that you want us to answer in the next video, whenever that might be, hope I can get you here again sometime soon. Just leave that in the comments section below and we'll use that for the next video. Thanks so much for sticking around, everybody.